Quicker. This shouldn't last very long. 40 minutes. Right, it's all. Yeah.
Both live.
Excellent. Thank you so much.
Trials were held downstairs.
Okay. Good evening, everybody. So this is, I think, fourth meeting of the IT support and digital communications working group. And we've got a little bit of business tonight, but hopefully it shouldn't be a very long meeting. So in terms of apologies, Mark Morehouse has sent us apologies. We might want to factor that into the timings of future meetings to allow him to attend. Have we got any declarations of interest tonight?
No, sir.
No, thank you. And just wanted to review the minutes from the last meeting. Firstly, on the minutes themselves, are there any comments? They're very brief minutes, so if you have anything to comment on, you're a better man than me.
I wasn't here, so I can't comment on the accuracy.
Okay, so then just quickly running through the actions, and some of these we can close because they're part of the main business as such. So as we go through them, I'll identify those. Simon, the action around sharing information, any further update on that?
Now, which one is this?
This is the ideas should be shared by email to ensure that the working group moves at pace. It then expanded out to look at SharePoint, etc. WhatsApp.
Yeah, no, I messaged David Shaw. I've not had a reply yet. Teams, I've looked at Teams.
Yep.
Now, Teams is part of Office 365, and I'm not sure, because I couldn't, again, my question to David was, do we have a subscription? If we've got a subscription, then it's part of that. Because when I go onto this to log into Teams, to access Teams, it comes back and says I've got to create a subscription.
Yeah.
So I'm concerned about that.
Yes, of course.
WhatsApp, generally the concern about WhatsApp is that people don't like it for business meetings because too many people have peculiar names, like something monkey or whatever. Whereas generally speaking, we don't.
No, we don't. So we're boring.
Yeah, we are pretty boring, suitably boring. The concern about security is that control of who has access to WhatsApp. But then the control is based on the list of members and who can add and subtract people from those groups. Yeah. So the control of access is down to us.
Okay.
So I'm struggling to understand in our context why WhatsApp is such a risk. Yeah. Because the risk is down to individuals. Teams still working on that. I had created, because I just got you one of these. I set mine up with everything. Yeah. Shared disks, shared disk space in the cloud. That, generally speaking, that seems to be based on, for these certainly, your own space for backups and for personal storage rather than for sharing. Yeah. Finding out how to actually share that so people have equal access. Yeah. Essentially, we're going to do that per file.
So can I just sort of challenge it? I think it was the enthusiasm at the start of this piece of work that we thought it would be really good to share stuff. But we have moved on in the sense that we are doing stuff.
Yeah.
And we've got across one of the key lines this week around the website. So I just wonder, is there still a need for it, for us as a group?
Yes, I believe there is a need, certainly for accessing the likes of agendas and minutes.
Okay.
Because
Yeah.
I go on to agendas and minutes through, and I basically have to scroll through.
Yeah.
I don't know if it is.
Yeah.
To find when was the last IT group? Oh, that's 5 days ago. Minutes? No, it's somewhere else. And if the agendas and minutes were in one place, that we could, not necessarily on the town website, the Sandwich Town Council website, but so that it's stored in one place.
Yeah.
Because each time I send a message, that's generating the same thing again and again and again. So you might have, if each one is a megabyte, I mean, I know it's free essentially, but so
Just from my point of view, I think that if we were to correctly use Microsoft Office, you are able to have a working document and share that document on the server and so forth. So I think Microsoft Office 365 will actually do all of this for us if we have that system and we're properly trained. I'm a little bit reluctant to say we use Teams. I had the occasion to use Teams this last week for a video conference, and the clarity and the resolution and everything is much better than Zoom, because I've also used Zoom in the last week on something else. So I'm a fan of Teams. But in terms of WhatsApp gives everybody that immediate access type of thing, but I do get concerned that it becomes a chat box, and if it's going to be used for anything other than council business, I really don't want to know.
Yeah, it's that challenge. The other area is that I started working on it and created the IT group. Again, new computer, so I've got to restart that. Because again, when I sent the summary of what I'll be speaking about later, I'm having to go through on almost with a piece of paper that 5 members. So I've got to actually look up who was it. If I'm creating a new email rather than just pressing IT group. So I'll go back there.
So can I propose we just park this for the time being and come back to it once we've got 365 fully up and running and so.
Happy with that?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
I'll still do it in the background.
Yeah. Okay. Jill, the action relating to my tech, anything happening with that at all?
So, there is the opportunity to have a Teams meeting.
Yes.
So it's really for me to organise a date with everybody.
Yes.
And I'm going to do that when I get back from leave.
Because of August now being seen as a slightly lower level period of activity, then that's completely fine. Yeah.
Thank you.
And that will be from the whole council, won't it? To opt in if they want.
Yes.
Facebook. Any developments regards Facebook since Monday?
Yes. So I've had a conversation, and I am absolutely confirmed I will be getting total access and control.
Is this from our friend?
The question that follows on from that is when?
When? I'm told by the end of this week. So
Brilliant.
I will. I have sent the email, which was the formal request. So that should be actioned by tomorrow.
Fantastic. Tick.
Good result.
Then the next 2 actions relate to the IT support requirement and the website requirements, taking that forward in terms of a tender process. So I propose closing these 2 actions because actually it's our bread and butter now, if you're okay with those, rather than updating in here.
Okay.
And the final one again, I propose closing because it's the bread and butter item that Simon is owning around the live streaming of our meetings. That's okay?
Okay. Could I just ask for an update on one action which is not recorded on here, but obviously Councillor Carter was a member of this working group and decided to stand down for it from
Yes.
it, and I understood he was asking you to nominate somebody else to join.
Yes, so I have approached Councillor Pennington, but he said he sadly he hasn't got capacity at the moment.
No.
Unless members want me to approach anybody else, but I haven't been able to really think of anyone that might.
Have an IT bent.
Yes, yes, unless you know different.
I think not. So if we're all here, then we've got 5 members.
Well, there's-
Councillor Morris.
Yes. Yes. So if you're comfortable with 5 being in the working group, and we're getting to the point now where we might then start thinking about, do we reconstitute, what's the next phase of work? Because actually I think we're going to push for 2 key pieces on plus Simons as well. And I'm comfortable with the group unless you feel somebody else should be involved. And if so, I'm struggling to get somebody who would say, no, I'd love to be part of it.
Okay, well, I just wanted to
No,
understand
that's
very
right.
well with
Yeah,
this because, you know, we're effectively a person down and,
We are.
you know, the load gets heavier.
Yes.
Can I sort of, I think almost you've said it, that if there is an A and other, it's because they have an IT event, rather than essentially a layman. Yeah.
Thank you. Okay, so can we take the minutes as accepted from the last meeting? Yes. Okay, so on to the agenda itself for today. I'm going to combine the next 2 agenda items because they're both covered on this slide here. Only one slide. I'm not going to bore you by slides. There's just one slide, and I just wanted to really say where we are in terms of the 2 tendering exercises. Monday's meeting with Finance and
General purposes.
General Purposes Committee. I was there, Simon was there. Actually, we were all there, so we know what happened. So we've got the tick in the box in terms of starting the tendering process off. Jill's going to pick that up on the return from leave. I've exchanged an email with Jill around dates, just to make sure she's comfortable. I've got a couple of weeks out from council business in August, so I've factored that in. So if we just look at the top line, which is for the website, what we've got is the evaluation document I'm going to do. So that's the evaluation document, not the tender invitation to bid. So that's still to be done, but I'm doing that to synchronise with the bids coming back, so it will be in place by then. I want to bring that to the next working group meeting, which will be 3 weeks from now, the 10th of August. So that's an evaluation document for us as a group, for you as individuals to have the opportunity to pull apart and rebuild with me, so it's ready for the evaluation exercise later. Yes?
I just asked Jill,
Yes.
if one of the bidders asks for the headlines on our evaluation process, are we obliged to give those to them? I.e., should we have this evaluation document in place before the tender is issued?
No, there isn't anything that says you have to share that up front, no. Because they have got the tender document, that's what they're working to.
Yes.
You know,
But the scoring mechanism.
yeah, I mean, they should, if they ask to have started that after, you know, if they want
After the event.
exactly after the event, then obviously that's where that would be shared.
Yeah.
But it isn't something that would be shared before we get there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I understand that. I think that seems reasonable to me in the sense that actually it's almost giving them
Yes.
the opportunity to mark their own homework. I suppose.
Yeah.
There's an argument for doing that. But yeah, good question. As long as we're
Clear on the advice, yeah.
Yeah.
Just to clarify, that's 10th of August when you choose it.
Yes, yes. Yeah. I'm happy. I'll send this out afterwards in any case. So that's what I'm looking at.
And sorry, the other thing, I made a couple of suggestions about
Yes.
some of the wording
Yeah.
in the invitation to tender.
Reflected those in there.
All right, and the other point, if I may, once the invitations to tender have gone out,
Yes.
will there be a check or will there be a requirement on the bidders for them to confirm within 2 or 3 days of receipt of
And they
tender
want
that they are going to submit a bid? Because you know, it would be embarrassing to
Yes.
get to the end of the bid period,
Yes,
and
yes.
because for the bidders as well, they will be in the holiday season, as we call
Yeah.
it, and you know, they may not bid.
I think there's a wrap around that, isn't there? And isn't there in the sense of maybe a phone call to them to say we've sent it to you.
Yeah.
So if you're okay to do that, Jill, that'd be
Yes.
really helpful to say,
Yeah.
sent it to you,
Yeah.
hopefully you're going to bid,
Yeah.
will you be bidding?
Yeah.
We might also want to ask whether they want to take the opportunity to offer a presentation of what they do.
Okay. Yeah.
And you could also cover it in the covering letter. You could mention this in the covering note that goes out to the bidders.
So I drafted the note and sent it across to Jill already, so that might just need a bit of tweaking in to do that. Yeah. Okay, so 10th of August we'd review the evaluation documents, but the invitations to bid 7th of August, the plan for them to be issued. Then the bid period would run from the 7th to the 25th, so that's approximately 3 weeks.
Yeah.
Then when those bids come back, they'll come to this group
Yeah.
first,
Yeah.
just as we do a reasonableness check,
Mm-hmm.
rather than putting them in front of the town council. And that will be at the next working group meeting, which will be on the 7th of September. So we've got a reasonable gap there. I'm giving you August as well. Seems to be the norm at the moment.
Just another point in terms of opening the bids, is there going to be just yourself and you will record on a piece of paper what the prices are and so forth, and you will bring that then to this working group?
Yes, so we, me and the RFO, I've spoken to the RFO and we'll do that
Excellent.
together.
And you'll open all the bids at the same time
Yes.
at an appointed hour?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
That's good. All good questions. Yeah, so we'll do a review of it, and then we'll take it to the town, to the website, the town council meeting on the 25th of September. So that gives a gap of roughly 3 weeks, which gives us enough time, should there be any gaps,
Clarification.
yeah, clarifications, gaps, that we can give them the opportunity to address. And then obviously they'll need to go to the town council meeting roughly 5 or 6 days before that date, in terms of a report. Okay. At the town council meeting, would you be the person presenting the bid?
Yes.
Is that the best way to do it?
Yes.
Okay, sorry to be.
You're in your
During the bid period,
Yes.
Yeah.
if the bidders have a query, whether
Yes.
it's a commercial query or a technical query,
Yes.
how will those be processed if people are not available and so forth?
So if it's a technical query, I would not be comfortable in helping, so I would be then contacting one of the working group.
Right.
If it's a practical query, I'm confident I can answer that.
So the point of contact is Jill and also Karen, but we should, I would suggest, offer that backup behind the scenes to answer if we can.
Okay.
Is that
All
right?
right. Yeah. Just so, you know, as long
No,
as
no,
because
yeah.
otherwise
Yeah.
bidders will say we asked 3 questions, you haven't
Yeah.
answered them. Please
Yeah.
extend the tender deadline
Yeah.
to 1 week after
Yes.
you receive the responses of the questions, and it's difficult to not comply and give an extension in those circumstances.
So, with a fair wind, what it means is that we potentially are able to launch a new website end of November, December. But it's a fair wind. There are, as we knew from Monday, there are constraints that may impact that. But if everything went really well, that would mean we would get it this side of the end of the year. Okay?
Sorry. I'm going to be a real pain because this is just so important. We don't want things to go awry. And one of the key things for that post-contract implementation is that the successful company will have all of the information to be able to upload it. So what I believe we need to do is to get from them a schedule, and I think we've asked them in the document for a schedule of the information that they require and the timescales in which they require it. Because we don't want that implementation period delayed because the information is still being, or that hasn't been made available by, you know, the existing website provider, if it's a new website provider.
Yeah. From the conversations I've had already, it sounds like, from what has been explained to me, it's quite a dynamic process. So it's not about, here's everything, go away and build it. There's going to be, and this is about having availability of people to go to, it's about going backwards and forwards, drawing in the information, and health checking along the way. So that is their approach. The other thing is, a number of these potential bidders have extensive experience of town council website delivery, so it should be bread and butter for them.
Sure, that's right. So, and that's obviously something you will take into consideration, their experience and their checklists and so forth that they provide as part of their tender process.
So what I was going, we've just gone to the, so that's the website.
Yeah.
IT support managed service, so it's very similar, but slower in terms of where we are today to when we get to the end. So the tender document, I'll be drafting that from the 20th of July, which is Monday, through to the 3rd of August. That's taking account of people's leave. Then we'll bring it to our working group meeting on the 10th of August to review in the same way we did before.
Yeah.
Then, if that's okay, we'll take it to the Finance and General Purposes Committee meeting on the 18th of September, because that's the next time we meet. So we are driven by availability of particular meetings, similar to what happened on Monday. Hopefully get it approved. Then we'll have a bid period, and that again is for 3 to 4 weeks. It's actually 4 weeks, and that's because we've got more capacity because of the timing of meetings that follow. Then we'll bring it back again to the working group meeting to review the bids, assuming we've got them, and then Town Council meeting 30th of October. If that all happens, what it means is a managed support arrangement won't really be in place until January of next year, I think.
Okay. All right, I'm comfortable with that, taking into account all of it, to mirror the comments. But I just would like to ask one question in terms of the urgency for the RFO to have a bespoke accountancy system. Is that going to be procured as part of this, or procured
it's a standalone
separately?
item, and I assume that you're already looking at how you bring that to Town Council,
Yes,
right?
yes, so the RFO is doing some work on that already to get some quotations and look at the tender process for that, because that's something that would be standalone. As you say, it's nothing, it's not related to the IT support managed service.
Right. It's all part of IT, so I just wanted to make sure we're on the agenda. So it'd be helpful, if we could get, some similar, what I call it, kind of procurement calendar or milestones, procurement milestones, when the bids are going out, when the bids are coming back in, when the proposals going to council. Or a contract plan, as we used to call it in the good old days. Yeah.
You sure?
Yeah, positive for now.
So what I was going to do is, after this meeting, I'm going to send a note to the Town Council, I think. It will be to the Town Council. It might be to the Finance Committee, I haven't quite decided yet. But I just want to make them aware of the timeline of what we're doing. So I'm trying to manage expectations, because it can't happen yesterday. And it is driven by formal governance meetings, a lot of this. But there is a plan now that shows how we're going to do this, so I'm going to share that out with and probably to the Town Council. Only for information, not to report on, but just send it as an email.
Thank you.
Okay? So that's those two. Okay to move on?
Yes, thank you. Very clear.
Good. Thank you.
It is. It's good. It's good.
Simon.
Right. I don't know if you've had a chance to read my comments.
Yes.
Yeah.
Basically, what I'm focusing on is, as I've said in the comments, simplicity, because somebody has to bring it in, set it up, switch it on,
Agreed.
finish it, take it away, And that includes on YouTube giving a title, making sure that there is a point where you switch on. I mean, Christina will know all of this, where you switch on and where you switch off, where you pause it during confidential discussions. So there will still, whatever, need to be somebody who will be able to say, we'll just do this, whether it's an automatic, a remote control, these kind of remote controls. And unfortunately, I would expect it might be you.
Yes.
So it has to be plug and play.
Yes.
Now, there are a number of ways of doing it. Jill kindly sent me a note of what Ramsgate have done.
Yeah.
And that is a system whereby they have a camera, they screens, they have microphones, what have you. The whole lot is £5,000. Now my view is £5,000 is maybe more than a town like Sandwich should be spending. So, stepping back from that, we have to consider the link between whatever is taking the video and getting it to YouTube. And that, generally speaking, is if you're using a camcorder or a webcam type thing, you have the camera, you have the thing that connects it to the computer, because you have to tell the computer this is a webcam of a nature.
Yeah.
Webcams generally are just so that you can speak to them and they can speak to you later on. You then have the streaming software which says to YouTube, I've got this camera connected to this computer. Then you've got YouTube itself, which, in my case, I just plug it in so and it goes. So we would actually have to have an account associated most likely with an email address, and again I would suggest something like town council or town clerk, because town clerk is a generic email address. And that together, something like, for argument's sake, £600 for a reasonable video camera. And I'm looking at camcorders specifically because I've tried microphones. Christina has tried. You've tried microphones.
I have indeed.
You get directional microphones, you get close-up microphones, but something that just takes the general area is difficult to get. So, but that's part of this experiment.
Okay.
If it picks it up nicely, essentially that's an old version of what I'm proposing, without all the Wi-Fi and streaming gizmos. Aiming for decent voice storage, so that you can recognise people essentially even without the video. The video then is the extra, not too concerned because of bandwidth that we have high definition, though of course we will be recording it as high definition, so potentially there is the option of storing high definition, so you might build up a little library of little SD cards, won't take up much space, but online it'll be a case of you can see who's speaking. Now one camera, obviously we would have to consider quite where it goes, and again that will tell me roughly, so we might not see, for example, Paul and yourself because you're up there, but I would say that's not so vital.
Yes.
Because you'll be able to hear them.
Yes.
So camera and all the gizmos is about £1,600.
Yes.
A camera that does everything is about £1,600. So what I'll do is I'll put these online. I'll send you the links of where they are. Have a look. And I would say the next stage is to then decide whether we want individual bits or what essentially will be a very high-end camera. Now, getting a streaming camera, they are rare, because I've been looking, and while you find them advertised as streaming cameras for hundreds of pounds, they're not. You still need all the gizmos. They're only advertised as that because they're saying you can plug all the gizmos into it. unless you go for something which is perhaps not quite of the quality we want.
Yes.
So next stage beyond this is to invite you to log in, have a look, see how it looks, and then we take it from there essentially.
So could I, is just in terms of keeping some pace around
Yes.
this, Simon?
Yeah.
Would it be possible to do what you've just described in terms of us taking a look, to enable us to have it as an agenda item on the 10th of August? So that's
Yes.
3 weeks away.
Oh yes.
So that at that meeting, working group, we can actually make a decision on what we want to prefer.
That would be perfect because
Yeah.
if the camera
Yeah.
is recording us speaking
Yeah.
clearly,
Yeah.
then I would be proposing to say we go for the camera option,
Yeah.
because that is something where, as I just set it up, you switch it on, plug it in.
Yeah.
Well, you don't even plug it in; the battery lasts,
Mm-hmm.
and go.
So I'll look at.
But I would want a
Yeah.
demonstration from before, because what you read and what I see on, because I've been looking at
Yeah.
YouTubes of the particular camera I'm looking at,
Yes.
nobody is describing this situation. So I would want to go and actually see it, or potentially hire one.
So
Well, from my point of view, a couple of things.
yeah.
Number one, I think that when we go to the council on it, we should provide all of the options that are available.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I note you said that the option that's used at Ramsgate is £5,000 was considered, maybe not appropriate for this council, but I would suggest to you that one of the key things is openness and transparency, and that the organisations of Sandwich are keen that we are open and transparent, and that there could potentially be funding pots that could provide the 5,000 type of thing. So I wouldn't. I'm asking you not to discount an option at the first hurdle, because, and then the other thing is to spell out the options in terms of recording, voice and video, and also in terms of broadcasting, whether it's YouTube or whether the files are going to be held on the Sandwich Town Council server, because I don't know why we would want to have it on YouTube, and pay YouTube if we can host it ourselves.
Possibly. I don't know if Christina's got a view. I suppose YouTube is a universal access.
It is universal access, but they retain a degree of control over your recording. If you hosted it on your own server, you would have total control. You'd have to think about that, I think.
So those are the things. So what I would like to see, is the table, with the small, medium and large, and the options. So it's almost like the supermarket will put that in the trolley and we'll put that in the trolley.
Yeah.
Sorry, I hope that's helpful, because I just think when it comes to full council, we don't want people to knock it back and say, oh well.
And they could say, well, Ramsgate do it.
Why don't we do a Ramsgate job?
Because.
Or potentially, the option that I'm looking at would pretty well match what Ramsgate is doing.
Okay.
But a lot, because if you start looking at the breakdown of what Ramsgate has, there's an awful lot of stuff which makes it work in between the camera and getting to YouTube. Whether it's, for example, computer, I've nominally said £600 for a reasonable computer. The £600 for a reasonable camcorder. There actually, I think it'd be worth actually looking at it. But the email you sent me, if I just look at the price of the camera, because that matched the camera that I'm looking at. and that camera does everything.
Yeah.
And sorry, the other thing, just thinking about it in terms of voice, you were saying, you know, would it be possible to put microphones in the lights, or just half a dozen microphones in these chandeliers to pick up? You know, to get that
yes.
voice clarity, do you know what I'm saying?
That's why we're doing this now,
So
so that
see what the clarity is like from.
if the clarity is good, you
Yeah,
might
we
say don't need it.
Yeah.
If it's not so good, then yes, I
Yeah.
slight step back, work out microphones.
Yeah.
But yes, I would agree.
So can I just play back Simon's suggested timeline then? 10th of August, next working group meeting to come with the description that Peter said around the table of what's under consideration for us to then finesse that, make sure it's the right table, to then take it to the Finance and General Purposes Committee on the 18th of September as a proposal.
Yeah.
Well, as options for them to decide.
Yeah.
And then we've got a town council meeting on the 25th. Just going to be a little bit tight to turn it into, if we get some homework to do. That's my only slight concern, I suppose. But we could, I suppose we could preempt the finance meeting, couldn't we? And,
Yes.
and put in the paper and
Yes.
yeah. Point being, it would be really good, Simon, I think, to be able to actually get a town council decision on a suitable solution by the end of September.
Yeah. I'm just looking. I think they're looking at two speakers. No, there's two speakers. They're looking at a single a single camera with no extra microphones. Can't see any extra microphones. So we are replicating pretty well what they're.
Landscape has.
And where they also have money set aside for a screen
Yes, I saw that.
and
Yeah.
mounting a screen
Yeah.
on the wall. We've done that.
Yes. Christina.
Ramsgate have 3 desktop microphones, like conferencing microphones, you know, little round
Yeah,
ones that
yeah.
join up. And proximity makes a huge difference, which is why I'm sitting so close to you. Yeah.
I assume, therefore, is it like there's a cable that would come out of the computer that they can split off, so you can have multiple microphones plugged in. Is that right?
Well, different councils do it differently, but they've got sort of a set of 3, which is the Logitech solution.
Oh, right.
thing.
So it actually is designed as a set.
I believe so, and yes, you can get systems that are Bluetooth, which might be more practical, but you need those where you can pair lots of them together as opposed to just having the one.
And the setup, you'd have to do the pairing every time you set up a meeting, which then.
Well, they can, once they've been
They
paired,
automatically
they will
do it.
find each other when they're switched on.
Okay. All things to look at.
Yes, adding
Quite exciting.
Yes. Is that balance between complexity
Yes.
and time setting up
Yes.
every single time
Yeah.
taking it down? And
This could easily be two meetings in a day, maybe even 3 meetings.
yeah. So your idea of something chandeliers.
Yeah. And in terms of ranking them and scoring them, there's the simplicity factor as well, which are, because if £5,000 system is you just turn on one button, but if the cheaper system is you've got, a 10-step process, and the risk of damage and the risk of theft and all of those types of
Your
things.
Jill's comment, if you don't mind saying, was they actually have somebody who's assigned to run it.
They assign somebody to do it. So even at £5,000, it's still a complex.
And looking at
solution.
the list of equipment, there's quite a few switches to switch on.
Good. So in principle, are we signing up to 25th of September Town Council meeting?
Yes,
to
I
get
think
some
that's not a problem.
That's brilliant. Yeah. Okay. We can integrate the support managed service that I'll be focusing on for that meeting, and integrate yours with it. But if you have to present, I much prefer that because you're living and breathing it. Okay, I was just one other thing I was going to ask, particularly as it's quite a hot topic at the moment, the market.
Oh, yes.
Yes, it has a Facebook page.
Is it?
Yes, it does.
Okay.
Do you know who owns it?
No.
Christina, do you know who owns it?
It's the ex-market manager as the admin.
Okay.
And I post to it every week because where I do the promotional stuff with the market. So
Thank you.
So
I'll make
could you
contact.
contact her?
Yeah.
It might be an easier journey.
No problem. I'll do that.
it's got quite a few members, and so it's really worth retaining because it has that audience.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Thank you. That's good to know.
Excellent. Okay, well, I love being in your company, but I don't think we need to stay together much longer. Is there anything else anybody else would like to raise before we close?
No, thank you.
We'll be able to, with defining the requirements for the website, be able to add or take away comments at our next meeting discussing the tender document.
Can you play that one by me again? So the tender document is now baselined
Yeah.
and agreed at
Right.
Finance Committee.
Yeah, that's fine.
It's the evaluation
Evaluation.
document
Yeah.
we'll have at the next meeting.
Yeah.
Is that okay?
Yeah.
Good. You almost sort of, I
No.
thought you were unpicking
Yeah,
it.
no, it was the options I added,
Yes.
which I think you put in.
Yeah. I've been fair to every comment. There's
Yeah.
nothing I've sort of
I
said
think
on it.
that covers my concern.
Yes. Yeah. You made some suggestions about some dynamic
That's
activities,
it.
and I definitely put those in there.
Yeah, that's great.
Thank you very much. And I'll just say thanks to all your efforts so far, because actually it was a key point going to the finance objectives committee to get agreement to the running a tender exercise. So we've done it from bottom up, started it off from scratch, and we've got.
I think considering we've only been doing this for a couple of months. Wow.
Yes.
Well,
Yeah.
yeah.
Nobody else thanks us. I'm thanking us.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. We'll close the meeting there.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank
So
you.
the date and time of next meeting
10th
is
of
10th
August.
of August, the time to be confirmed.
18,
Yeah,
20.
yeah,
So
which
it's
is
fine.
kind of,
Thank you.
yeah,